Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. The retreat of the Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls before a fight had clearly exceeded the expectations of Xiao Yan's group. Hence, he was allowed to tear space and flee before anyone could react. This fellow is really quick to run. Xiao Yan stared at the spot where the Deputy Hall Chief had fled and frowned, but that frown quickly relaxed. The Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls was not an ordinary person. He had the strength of an advanced 3-star Do Xing. If Ziyang wasn't accompanying them today, an extremely miserable battle would definitely have broken out. Moreover, even after experiencing such a battle, Xiao Yan was not confident he could truly kill the Deputy Hall Chief like he had killed the first Tianzuan. After all, the strength of the Deputy Hall Chief was far from what the first Tianzuan could compare with. Although it is not difficult to defeat him, I am not able to stop him if he chooses to flee with all his strength. Ziyang also felt a little helpless. If an advanced 3-star Do Xing expert insisted on fleeing, she would not be able to stop that expert, and this Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls was extremely cautious. He had simply fled before even fighting. Therefore, Ziyang would not be able to retain him. Forget it. It doesn't matter if he escapes. The Hall of Souls will sooner or later guess that we are the ones responsible for this matter. The Alliance and the Hall of Souls are at odds with each other. Some time earlier, the Hall of Souls had launched an attack on the Alliance. Time and time around, we will have returned them the favor. Otherwise, outsiders might think that our alliance can only be suppressed by the Hall of Souls and act cowardly. Xiao Yan nodded. His finger gently rubbed his storage ring as he faintly laughed. Being able to capture the first Tianzuan and obtain the Sea Heart Flame meant that he had gained a lot during this trip. Moreover, they had even destroyed a branch hall of the Hall of Souls. This kind of loss was something that even the Hall of Souls would not be able to easily accept. You should also finish off the remaining people. Do not allow any of them to escape. Xiao Yan glanced at the experts from the Hall of Souls who were fleeing in all directions as both the little fairy doctor and Qing Lin gave chase. After which, he turned to the battleground between Yao Lao and Saint Ji Yu. The Saint Ji Yu had already fallen into a disadvantage at this moment. Even his aura had become a little weary. Although he tried to act tough with his words, he was only a high-level Ban Xing. It was impossible for him to fight with Yao Lao, who was an elite Do Xing. It was only a matter of time before he was finished off. Pay attention to Ji Yu. Do not allow this old ghost to flee. Ziyang nodded. Her delicate figure moved and rushed forward. She became a huge dragon that charged over to a herd of goat. Wind swept all around. Within a short minute, those experts from the Hall of Souls were completely killed by her. Xiao Yan was too lazy to split his attention to handle this one-sided slaughter. He lowered his head to look at the large hall below. After which, he clenched his hand and the heavy Xian ruler appeared in a flash. He ruthlessly slashed at the large hall. 1,000-foot large flame pillar erupted and split the large hall apart, revealing countless black chains inside. A couple of spiritual light clusters hung on the ends of those chains. The corner of Xiao Yang's eyes involuntarily twitched upon seeing the tens of thousands of spiritual bodies. These bastards from the Hall of Souls were using these souls as nourishment. Xiao Yan gently waved his hand. A frightening wind blew like a wild storm. Those chains were shattered apart, and the souls within those light clusters opened their eyes at this moment. They looked around them in a frail and lost manner. After which, wildly joyous spiritual fluctuations were emitted. Although they were unaware of what exactly had happened, they could taste freedom. They had been locked in this place for an unknown number of years as prisoners. At times, even death itself had become their only hope. All of you should leave. Do not allow the Hall of Souls to capture you again. Xiao Yang softly sighed. He then spoke as he watched those souls. Some of them seemed to be so happy and excited that they were tearing up. Numerous souls lingered in the sky. Some knelt to Xiao Yan while others deeply bowed to him. Finally, they charged out of the barrier with a whistle and crazily headed to the outside world. Xiao Yan involuntarily shook his head as he watched those souls flee. He was just about to turn around when a thought suddenly passed through his heart. His eyes looked at the hall that had turned into ruins as he vaguely sensed a strange fluctuation from deep within it. He hesitated for a moment before he slowly landed. He gently waved his hand as a frightening wind sent a 1,000-foot-large rock pillar flying. Xiao Yang swiftly dug deeper. The ruins parted to reveal a large pit in the blink of an eye. There was a 5-foot-large light cluster suspended in the pit. The light cluster was transparent. Its exterior was attached to tons of black chains. The other end of these chains had been connected to those souls that had fled earlier. This light cluster was the thing that had formed from those spiritual bodies earlier. This is... Xiao Yang frowned as he looked at this light cluster. He could sense an extremely terrifying spiritual fluctuation within the light cluster. Moreover, this spiritual fluctuation was extremely pure. There was not one impurity mixed within it. This is the essence of a soul. Yarou Lao's voice was transmitted from behind Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang turned his head and saw Yarou Lao descend from the sky. That old ghost Ji Yu had quickly been finished off after Zi Yang intervened. Hence, Yarou Lao was free to look around. Soul essence, Xiao Yang slowly muttered. At this moment, he naturally understood something. The soul was the basis of life. All living creatures possess a soul, and deep within the soul was a hint of soul essence. This was the foundation for the formation of a soul. It could be described as the most mysterious, but purest energy in the world. Such a large amount of soul essence requires at least 1 million souls. Yarou Lao's expression was a little complicated as he said, this soul light cluster should be the collection of the man hall over the years. The deputy hall chief was in such a hurry to escape that he failed to even bring such an important thing with him. 1 million souls. Xiao Yang softly exhaled. The methods of this hall of souls were indeed vicious. In order to obtain this soul essence, they had to consume 1 million souls. Moreover, this was only the man hall. There was still quite a number of branch halls across the Central Plains. Those places would likely also possess such a mysterious thing. This hall of souls is really the scourge of the entire continent. They are indeed a scourge. Yarou Lao was unable to hide the hatred on his face. This hall of souls used all sorts of methods to attain its despicable goals. Such a mysterious and cruel method was little different than obtaining the blood or flesh of a living person. Moreover, this method was perhaps even more vicious. I wonder just what the Hall of Souls is planning to do by gathering so much soul essence. Xiao Yang knit his brows. He felt that this soul essence definitely involved a grand scheme. Absorbing the soul essence will strengthen one's spiritual strength. If one possesses an extremely vast amount of soul essence, one might be able to step into the legendary DI state if one is lucky, Yarou Lao slowly explained. Does teacher mean that someone from the Hall of Souls, no, the Hun clan is planning to raise his spiritual strength to the DI state? Is this the reason why they have been capturing souls? To remove the soul essence from them? Xiao Yang asked with a startled voice. This is likely the case, but I cannot be certain. They planned to get me to submit to them when I was captured by the Hall of Souls back then. It seems that they require my alchemist skills to help them do something, but I did not agree to help them. Hence, I do not know just what they needed me to do. Based on my guess, it should be related to this soul essence. Yarou Lao fondled his chin and spoke with a frown. Xiao Yang knit his brow upon hearing this guess. These various signs indicated that the Hall of Souls seemed to be preparing something. The collection of souls to refine soul essence seemed to be one step of many. These people, just what are they planning to do? Xiao Yang had once met the demon saint Huang Quan. This peak expert had trained until his soul had reached the DI state, but based on what his lingering soul fragment had said, even if one's soul reached the DI state, one would not be able to reach the Do DI class. Perhaps, the thing that he mentioned to be missing in this world was the key to resolve this mystery. Could it be that the thing that demon saint Huang Quan claimed to be missing was soul essence? Xiao Yang shook his head while feeling at a loss. He sighed. He did not have a clue even after thinking about what he meant. All he could say was, "What should we do with this thing?" Xiao Yan was naturally talking about the soul essence in front of him. This thing was something that the man Hall had formed after much difficulty. Its value was extremely great and unmeasurable. There was no telling just how many alchemists would go crazy if this thing were to brought to the outside world. This was created from slaughtering an unimaginable number of people. It should not exist in this world. Since it has already been formed, there is naturally no reason to abandon it. You should take it. Your spiritual level is currently at the advanced heavenly state. There is still a ways to go to the perfect heavenly state. This will definitely help you to snatch the purifying demonic lotus flame. Yao Lao hesitated for a moment before replying. Xiao Yang was startled upon hearing this suggestion, but he did not put up an act. He turned his head and looked at the spiritual light cluster. With a wave of his hand, he shattered those chains. After which, his hand slowly touched the surface of the light cluster and softly said, "I will help take revenge for all of you." The soft sentence suddenly caused the faint luster to send a signal. There seemed to be many different messages being emitted from the soul light cluster. Xiao Yang quietly accepted these messages. Far too much soul essence had been gathered within this light cluster, so there was no form of intelligence within it. Only some hatred, unwillingness, and other emotions that existed before the complete death of a soul remained. It was extremely difficult to completely refine these emotions. If one were to randomly absorb them, they would end up warping one's mind. However, that single sentence from Xiao Yang seemed to have quietly resolved these hidden negative emotions. This could be considered another form of intelligence that had formed by this soul essence. Even when they died, they would use their final strength to make things difficult for those who killed them. Although it appeared easy to resolve these emotai, those from the Hall of Souls would never utter such words. Those with affinity have the right to obtain any spiritual object in this world. It seems that both you and this soul essence fit each other. Yao Lao involuntarily smiled and remarked after watching Xiao Yang use one sentence to resolve the hidden negative emotions within the soul light cluster. These people from the Hall of Souls have committed all sorts of evil deeds. Xiao Yang softly sighed. He waved his sleeve as he put this soul light cluster within his storage ring. After which, he looked around him. At this moment, the remaining people within the man hall, with the exception of the deputy hall chief, who had escaped, had all been killed. Although many of the experts from the Hall of Souls were spiritual bodies that would vanish from the world upon death, there were still many of them who possessed a physical body. Hence, this area was covered with corpses. A rich bloody scent rose to the sky. A slight ripple appeared in Xiao Yang's eyes when he observed this scene. He quickly became indifferent. He had seldom engaged in such a massacre, but he would not feel the slightest mercy for these people who aided others in committing atrocities. All of these people had hands that were stained with lives. Even the Xiao clan had nearly been eliminated by these people from the Hall of Souls. Let's leave. Xiao Yang did not wish to stay in this corpse-covered territory for long. After grabbing the soul light cluster, he turned around and rushed out of the mountain range. Yao Lao and the rest behind carefully searched the area once more before they swiftly followed him. Around 10 minutes after Xiao Yang's group left, the space on a mountain a short distance away began to fluctuate. A black figure appeared from it and finally entered the ruins of the hall. His expression quickly became gloomy after seeing the dug-up ruins. Fury and regret filled his eyes. The souls that my man Hall has collected with much difficulty for 100 years were taken away by that brat. If word of this reaches the clan, even I will be severely punished. That black figure was naturally the deputy hall chief of the Hall of Souls, who had fled earlier. At this moment, he was looking at the empty depths of the hall. His expression had turned a little pale. The man hall was considered an important branch hall within the Hall of Souls. The souls that it imprisoned were also relatively strong. Thus, the soul essence it had collected was extremely powerful. Now, that soul essence had been taken by Xiao Yang and those imprisoned souls had also been released by him. This loss was something that even the Hall of Souls could not endure. That brat has an expert from the ancient Void Dragon tribe guarding him. With my strength alone, I am no match for her. Other than the Hall Chief, no one within the Hall of Souls can kill that brat. This is the danger that comes from allowing a tiger to grow. The Deputy Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls shook his head in frustration. Back then, Xiao Yan had been an extremely tiny ant in the eyes of the Hall of Souls, yet after a decade, the ant from back then had slowly grown to a point where the entire Hall of Souls could not deal with him. The speed at which he had grown really caused one to feel an endless regret from just thinking about it. If they had paid a little more attention back then, they would have been able to get rid of a great enemy early on. The purifying demonic lotus flame will descend on this world in 2 months. The Hall Chief will definitely get involved then. If the clan is able to obtain the purifying demonic lotus flame, we will be able to jump our plans forward. This can help make up for the losses of the destruction of the Man Hall. The eyes of the Deputy Hall Chief rapidly flashed. A moment later, he finally clenched his teeth. The space around him fluctuated as his body slowly disappeared. We failed snatch the purifying lotus demon flame the last time around, delaying the Hun clan's plans. This time around, our Hun clan will definitely obtain it. Once we obtain that demon flame, the clan will no longer need to follow the so-called clan agreement. At that time, the clan's experts will intervene and Xiao Yang will only end up dying. HMPH, Xiao Yang. Just you wait, my Hun clan will definitely have our revenge. You have destroyed our Man Hall, but the next time around, we will destroy your Sky Mansion alliance. The Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls disappeared from the world, but his wicked, vicious voice slowly lingered, and did not disappear for a long time. The news that a Hall of Souls hall had been destroyed might not have been announced, but it was obvious that one could not hide such shocking information. Hence, within a short 1 week after the incident, this matter seemed to have grown wings and rocketed around the Central Plains, stirring a ton of shock. The factions in the Central Plains were all clearly aware of the strength of the Hall of Souls. This overbearing existence had been standing at the top of the Central Plains. Even the Pill Tower had ended up at a disadvantage during many battles with them. Hence, many people did not dare to take revenge despite having suffered to the Hall of Souls. All they could do was suppress the hatred in their hearts. After hearing such news, it was natural that some people would feel a great joy. The new super faction known as the Sky Mansion Alliance also began to be regarded seriously. Back then, no one had thought much about this alliance. After all, the Hall of Souls was too strong, and the alliance had been attacked some time earlier. This had caused many to think that the alliance was beginning to sway in the face of a storm. However, the alliance had taken this action to inform everyone that the Sky Mansion was unafraid of the Hall of Souls. Something like destroying the Man Hall of the 3 Tiangang Halls was something that the Pill Tower had never accomplished even during their war with the Hall of Souls. This time around, the alliance had succeeded in doing what they couldn't. The Sky Mansion Alliance had undoubtedly shown everyone that they possessed the strength to fight with the Hall of Souls. Due to the destruction of the Man Hall, the entire Central Plains and the alliance ended gaining an extremely excited atmosphere. While this occurred, Xiao Yang spent a couple of days resting, so he could refine and absorb the soul essence soon. His spiritual state was at the advanced heavenly state. He was a little stronger than even Yao Lao, but there was still one state after this advanced state. It was the perfect heavenly state. Only after reaching the perfect heavenly state would it be possible to progress to the legendary D state. A D state soul was seldom formed even during the ancient times. Those who could reach this level were mostly peak existences during that era. An example was someone like Demon Saint Huang Quan. Although stepping into the D state did not mean that one would be able to become a genuine Do D, there was one point that need not be doubted. After reaching the peak of the 9th star of the Do Shin class, one's spiritual strength would allow one's strength to soar beyond the limit and progress again. One might even be able to become the so-called half-D existence like Demon Saint Huang Quan. Of course, the advancement of one's spiritual state was extremely difficult. Hardly anyone had reached the perfect heavenly state even across the entire continent. That mysterious ancestor of the small pill tower, who liked to have fun roaming the world, might be one person. The GU clans and the Hun clans heads might also have reached that state, but regardless of how one counted, the numbers would be miserably small. Xiao Yang sat on a large rock on a mountain in the star realm, as a layer of clouds floated around it. There was a 5-foot-large light cluster floating in front of him. A gentle and pure luster continued to be emitted from it. Light landed on the surrounding grass and leaves, causing them to become a richer green. Xiao Yang's eyes studied this soul light cluster, as he gently exhaled. He extended his hand and touched the light cluster. Following this contact, Xiao Yang was able to sense the vast and mighty strength that this soul essence cluster contained. That feeling caused the soul on his brow to feel extremely warm. Xiao Yang widened his mouth. A cluster of grayish-brown flames with a faint blue was spat out. The heavenly flame within his body had already refined the sea heart flame. Of course, the growth after refining this heavenly flame was insignificant, something that Xiao Yang had expected. His strength had merely advanced a little, but not enough to reach the intermediate second star of the Do Xing class. The flame mantra had also improved a little, but it had merely advanced from a quasi-Tian class Qi method to a Tian class low-level Qi method. The increase was not obvious. Xiao Yang did not feel depressed because of this situation, since his heart had been prepared for this. He was already an elite Do Xing, which was different from his strength back then. An ordinary heavenly flame would no longer be able to catch his eye. The flame appeared and floated below the soul light cluster, before it turned into a raging flame that wrapped around the light cluster. Although the soul essence was relatively pure, this was something that had been obtained from the Hall of Souls. It was always good to be extra careful. The high temperature gradually seeped into the soul light cluster before it began to boil. There was whips of extremely faint black vapor that were emitted from it. This black vapor quickly vanished. Xiao Yang lifted his brow upon seeing these black vapors. He could sense extremely weak thoughts within them. These had been inserted by the experts from the Hall of Souls. If one absorbed these black tendrils into one's soul, they would end up resulting in a severe sequela. These people from the Hall of Souls are indeed extremely vicious. Xiao Yang waved his sleeve. The flame soared as it completely refined all of the black vapors hidden deep within the light cluster. After removing these black vapors, the soul light cluster became more crystal clear. At a glance, it looked as though it was an illusion. This refinement continued for half an hour before Xiao Yang slowly scattered the flame. He looked at the crystal-like soul cluster in front of him and finally sighed. His hands moved to form a seal, as his spiritual strength surged out of his brow. It turned into a human figure that looked like Xiao Yang. This figure sat in front of the soul light cluster, before widening his mouth. A suction force surged from it. The soul light cluster trembled after this suction force appeared. An unusually pure soul essence drifted from the soul cluster. It lingered around Xiao Yang's body before flowing into his mouth, nostrils, and pores as it continuously surged into him. The surface of Xiao Yang's soul began to form a mysterious crystal-like layer, as he began to absorb more and more of the soul essence. Crash crash. The soul light cluster slowly fluctuated. Wave after wave of clear voices spoke, as an unusually pure soul essence poured into Xiao Yang's soul. The face of the body that Xiao Yang's soul had turned into gradually revealed an intoxicated expression after this energy poured in. His soul seemed to have been immersed in a warm light. That feeling was just like a baby in a womb. Layer after layer of faint mysterious crystals quietly began to appear on the surface of his soul. At a glance, his soul appeared just like an actual person, causing the soul to appear extremely mysterious. The interior of the soul light cluster contained an extremely frightening soul essence strength. These essence strength was formed after the Hall of Souls had extracted 1,000,000 souls. Before such a vast and mighty soul essence, even Xiao Yang ended up feeling as though he was extremely tiny. Crash! As more soul essence was absorbed by Xiao Yang, circular waves of invisible ripples began to form with him at the middle. This invisible ripple caused the area within 10,000 feet of the mountain to suddenly become completely quiet. All living creatures within the mountain forest sensed a pressure that originated from their souls. This pressure caused even the most ferocious magical beast within the mountain to lay on the ground in fear. They did not even dare let out a roar. Xiao Yan's training activity was quite intense. That fluctuation might appear invisible, but it possessed a pressure that one could not resist. Soon after the ripple spread, it was quickly detected by the many experts within the Falling Star Pavilion. Numerous figures hurried over, but they suddenly felt their heads become giddy when they were 10,000 feet away from the mountain Xiao Yan was training on. Some of them weren't able to keep their bodies stable and showed signs of falling from the sky. The many experts felt shock appear within their hearts. They hurriedly pulled back, and only gradually felt better, after leaving a 10,000-foot radius of the mountain. Their eyes were startled as they looked at the mountain with clouds lingering over it. This fellow's spiritual strength is really becoming terrifying. Yao Lao's group also appeared in the sky. Their eyes looked at the distant mountain with grave expressions. Even they could not resist that kind of spiritual pressure. Xiao Yang had far surpassed Yao Lao both in terms of Do Qi and his soul. Perfect heavenly state. Other than the ancestor, it has been over 1,000 years since someone within the small pill tower has reached this state. You have really accepted a good disciple this time around. Xiao Yang's achievements are enough to shame the younger generations from the Yao clan, and even some of their old demons. The eyes of the first elder from the small pill tower were a little envious, as he stared at the mountain where Xiao Yang trained. He softly sighed. His spiritual state had remained at the advanced heavenly state for 100 years, yet he had not been able to touch the perfect heavenly state. It was possible to tell just how difficult it was to raise one's spiritual state. Yao Lao slightly smiled. There was a joy that could not be hidden within his eyes. Xiao Yang's ability to reach this stage had exceeded even his wildest expectations. If one were to discuss talent, there were many people that were more talented than Xiao Yang, but Xiao Yang slowly persevered. He took one step at a time to a level that left those extremely talented individuals looking up. Achieving this level required some luck, perseverance, and many life and death experiences. Yao clan, once I have the time in the future, I will definitely make a trip there with Xiao Yang. I do not have any other thoughts regarding this clan, but I must ensure that my parents' names are carved onto the clan tablet. This was the promise that I gave them when they died back then. Yao Lao placed both his hands behind him and looked at the distant western sky. His eyes contained some sadness that was rarely seen. His entire life had been quite bumpy. Fortunately, the heavens had bestowed him with hope at his most desolate moment. In that far-back mountain of the Xiao clan in Wutan City in the distant past, he had placed his final bet on that tender youth. I wonder how long Xiao Yang will train this time around. Counting the days, the purifying demonic lotus flame will appear soon. Based on the information that I have obtained, the Hall of Souls has quietly started to move. They are targeting the purifying demonic lotus flame. Feng Zunjia, who was behind Yao Lao, revealed some news. Relax, he will wake up in time. Now, we will just have to quietly wait for him to break through. Additionally, issue an order that no one is allowed to enter the area within 10,000 feet from where Xiao Yang is training. Yao Lao slightly smiled. He did not continue to remain. Instead, his body moved, and he slowly returned to the main hall. Understood. One day after another passed amid this quiet training, but the spiritual fluctuation that spread from the mountain did not disappear. Instead, it gradually grew stronger, and after a month, almost the entire star realm was affected by that ripple. Hence, other than a couple of people, the others could only give up flying with bitter faces. They could only endure the spiritual pressure that pressed onto their backs by choosing to run on the ground. Yao Lao's group was helpless to deal with the pressure. Even they could only barely resist that spiritual pressure, so naturally, they did not have much strength left to help others. Moreover, this kind of pressure was considered another form of training to the Falling Star Pavilion's disciples. Just simply walking about could be considered training. With the upper echelons of the Falling Star Pavilion adopting such a mentality, the disciples of the Falling Star Pavilion ended up enduring the bitter spiritual pressure for an entire month. Although this spiritual pressure caused many to feel extremely terrible, they felt their spiritual strength vaguely grow after gradually getting used to the pressure. This caused many disciples to feel pleasantly surprised. They were not alchemists and naturally found very few opportunities to strengthen their spiritual strength. They were happy to be able to improve because of this special training. A strong spiritual strength would greatly aid one's training. After having tasted some benefits, no one continued to complain. Some of the talented disciples viewed the situation as a rare training experience. Not only did they try not to leave the star realm, they even began to try to slowly walk in the direction of the mountain where Xiao Yan was training. The disciples of the falling star pavilion who seek the pressure would experience their spiritual strength began to soar. After all, the spiritual pressure from the perfect heavenly state was not something just anyone could endure. While Xiao Yan was training, some of that soul essence began to scatter across the star realm under his control. If the falling star pavilion disciples were lucky to absorb and merge with a piece, it would be no different than if a divine pill fell from the heavens. After the first batch of disciples experienced the benefits, an increasing number of disciples began to follow in their footsteps. In an instant, the entire star realm once again became lively. Tens of thousands of falling star pavilion disciples slowly walked one step at a time toward the mountain where Xiao Yan was training. It was as though they were walking within a quagmire. Every step they took exhausted them. Of course, this exhaustion increased the disciples' training speed while bringing about some fatigue. After this desire to train spread, even some of the elders from the falling star pavilion could not resist joining this kind of special training. Even Yao Lao's group was dumbfounded by the state of the star realm. They felt neither able to laugh nor cry. It was unexpected that Xiao Yan's would cause such a big commotion. Fortunately, this kind of training was an extremely rare experience for the disciples of the falling star pavilion. After sensing the feeling of a perfect heavenly state soul, they would be able to avoid some unnecessary detours during their future journey. This strange atmosphere within the star realm continued for about 50 days. Only then did this atmosphere disappear, as the spiritual pressure slowly diminished. The expressions of Yao Lao's group gradually became grave after this spiritual pressure, which had spread all over the star realm, diminished. They could sense a mighty world-like invisible ripple quietly gathering deep within the mountains. Xiao Yan is about to awaken. Yao Lao's group was aware that Xiao Yan's training was gradually approaching its end. Another 2 days passed while Yao Lao's group waited. Xiao Yan sat on the top of a mountain. There was a human figure that was covered by a strange crystal-like layer in front of him. The appearance of this figure was the same as Xiao Yan. That originally 5-foot large soul essence in front of this crystal human figure was only half the size of a head. Waves of extremely pure soul essence slowly drifted from it. The crystal human figure sat as still as a statue. It was a long while later before his tightly shut mouth was suddenly opened. A suction force surged and the half-a-head large soul cluster rushed forward. It turned into a ray of light that entered the mouth of the crystal Xiao Yan. Bang! The body of the crystal Xiao Yan suddenly trembled after that soul light cluster entered his mouth. A dazzling light erupted from his body as an invisible world-like fluctuation swept in all directions like a storm. At this moment, dark clouds covered the sky while wild lightning danced. I feel that this part is a little awkward, so I did not include it. This video will end here.